In the last video of this series, I committed to building a $1 million e-commerce brand from the ground up and documenting every step of the process. Look at that sexy thumbnail. That was a good one. And if you haven't seen that video, it's a good watch. You should do that. I'll link you to it at the end of this one, so just hold your horses on that and don't kill my freaking average view duration by jumping off this video right at the start. Be plenty of time to see that one. I've been thinking about doing this for a while, but now that the video's out, I'm committed. Unfortunately, committing is the easy part. Now we have to actually make some progress. But first, we need to do some important planning. You're never going to hit the target if you don't aim first. And the first thing we need to do is to pick our niche. Niche? I'm in the South, so niche just sounds fancy. But honestly, today I'm feeling a little fancy, but I may change these out as we go. Why do we need a niche? Well, because snitches end up in ditches. The riches are in the niches. A niche for your business is advantageous for several reasons. Basically, it all boils down to the fact that if you try to relate to everyone, you actually end up relating to no one. Ads need to be tailored to stand out and get people's attention, or they'll never perform well. You do that by targeting people interested in your niche and building ads around those interests. You also need products that convert with the traffic that you're paying for, or you'll just be losing money on all of that traffic. And I don't know about you, Mr. Moneybags, but constantly losing money isn't sustainable for me. I don't have investors that'll cover my losses for over a decade to gain scale like Amazon did. No, sir. We'll definitely lose a little money to learn and tweak, but sooner rather than later, this thing needs to turn profitable or it'll end up eating all my bourbon budget. And that's a line that can't be crossed. Getting to profit means your products must align with the interests of the niche you're targeting. Another note on products and niches some of you youngins may not realize. When you're building a business from scratch, acquiring new customers is often a break-even proposition in the early days. Having your entire business aimed at this niche actually makes your entire catalog potentially interesting to every customer. That gives you the opportunity to try and increase your average order values, but it also helps in turning customers into repeat customers. And a long-term relationship is often the path of profitability, but it is most definitely the path to higher margins because it's a lot cheaper to get a second order from someone than it is to get the first. Well, that is, unless you screwed it up by selling crappy products or having poor customer service. If so, you may find getting repeat customers more difficult than anticipated, so be sure to work on those things. And it's really one of the biggest weak points of the traditional dropshipping hustle that a lot of YouTube geniuses are selling you courses on, and it's what keeps you from building a sustainable business. It's also easier to find or create winning products when you're focusing on a small group of people with common interests. You can better tailor your photos, descriptions, really everything to relate to that audience. And that will increase your conversion rates and hopefully lead to a profitable business that you can scale. It's really difficult to do that when you're all over the place. So focus on a niche and make your life easier. If you built a store that sells all sorts of random things to all sorts of random people, well, good luck. Now, how do you pick a niche? Most folks are going to tell you to pick something you're interested in, and there's a couple of reasons for that. The first reason is that this is not going to be easy. At some point, you'll hit the limits of your knowledge, experience, and resources, and a business becomes a grind. It'll become a problem that is much easier to quit and walk away from than it is to stick with, learn, grow, hustle, get creative, and overcome the obstacles that are holding you back. If the niche is something you're naturally interested in and you're already spending a lot of time on, then you're much more likely to continue working on it when things get tough. And don't kid yourself, they will get tough. If you have no interest in the market that your business focuses on, you're just so much more likely to get bored, give up, and that's never an ingredient in the recipe for success. The second reason to pick a niche that interests you is that you're more likely to understand your customers and can speak to their needs and desires because you're part of the group. To sell something to someone, it needs to either solve a problem that someone has or connect with them on an emotional level. What kind of problems do skateboarders have? What would relate to them emotionally? I have no freaking clue. I couldn't ride a skateboard if my life depended on it. I tried it a couple of months ago on my daughter's longboard, almost broke my hip. I'm not part of that niche, so I don't understand it. Could I research and make it work? Sure. But it's going to be more work, and I already have a lot of work to get this business going. So why not pick something that I already understand or at least want to learn about? And that's the key. You don't have to know everything there is to know about this niche. You just have to have an interest, so learning about it will actually be fun to you and not some grind you have to survive. The more targeted your niche, the better, to a certain degree. I mean, we have to have a serviceable market that can support a business, so it can't be something that only 10 people are into. To determine the market, look around. Look at the Google Keyword Planner at search volume for terms related to that niche. Search the major social platforms to see if they're content creators or influencers that are creating content in that space. Is the niche a focus for them? Or is it just an occasional topic? What size is their audience for that content? If they're fully focused on it and getting solid views and followers from it, then that's a sign that you found a niche that folks are passionate about. If not, maybe it's too small. Be sure to look around and see what the competition looks like from a business perspective. And don't shy away from competition. No competition is actually a bad thing unless you're doing something completely new and unique. Seeing businesses thrive in your niche means that there's a thriving market for you to tap into, especially if you figure out a way to stand out. Now that you understand my thinking on it, let's talk about the niches that I've been considering, and then we'll discuss the one that I've actually settled on. Now, I thought about things that I'm passionate about and worked through those one at a time, weighing out how well I thought each would work for this exercise. I'm an Auburn grad and a big fan of college football and college basketball. Serving that Auburn athletic market could be fun. It'd give me a reason to attend more games, create more content about Auburn sports, but these businesses are extremely seasonal. You make all your money during football season, but only if the football team is doing well. Your fortune is directly tied to how good those teams actually are. And I really want to limit things outside of my control that have a profound impact on my business. Also, my very first e-commerce client ever, back 20 years ago, is actually servicing that market. And I helped grow their business from nearly nothing to about the levels we're looking to reach here, although I'm not sure what they're up to these days. And I want to see them do well, so I'm not trying to compete with them. The next niche I considered is e-commerce itself. It's literally what I spend all of my time thinking about already, so why not? But creating an e-commerce brand about e-commerce is like e-commerce inception, and I'm not really sure what that would look like. I think it's a little too general, so I'd need to tighten that niche down some, maybe do some products aimed at e-commerce developers or drop shippers or particular e-commerce platforms. Really, though, I want something completely different because part of the appeal of this entire business is just thinking about something else every once in a while. Which brings me to the third niche I considered, and that's cars. I love cars. I have quite a few of them, and I'm sure over the next few years I'll be buying quite a few more as long as I can get my wife to go along with that. Once my days of e-commerce is done, this is probably where I'll spend most of my time, so it makes perfect sense. But cars is definitely too generic and needs to be more focused. That could be focusing on a particular sub-niche like racing or a type of car like vintage Impalas. Are we selling parts or car care products or just merchandise to enthusiasts? There's a lot to be figured out here, and nothing really looks fleshed out enough for me. Someday I'll come back to this niche for sure, but it doesn't feel like the right choice for this business. And that's why I've chosen bourbon as my niche. I like it a lot. It's growing rapidly. Bourbons that you could get on the shelf at just about any liquor store 10 years ago are now completely unobtainium. I definitely understand the bourbon enthusiast market because I am that market. The influencer market exists, but it's a little immature and growing. That's going to limit our influencer marketing opportunities to a smaller set of micro-influencers, but it might give me the chance to actually grow our own influence. There are Facebook groups dedicated to bourbon, which shows interest, but I'm unsure of the advertising opportunities on those. Quite a few YouTube channels at around 50,000 subscribers, with some breakouts up to 500,000. Bourbon TikTok is even a thing, although not a huge thing just yet. So honestly, the limited influencer opportunity is really the only sign that's not incredibly positive for this niche. However, I think that's just a byproduct of the recent growth of interest, and we're really just getting in early, but we'll see. Actually shipping bourbon itself is problematic. The laws in the US are all over the place. So for now, we're going to be focusing on merchandise. I'm also going to widen the focus a bit to any alcohol-themed merchandise and not just bourbon in particular, although that's probably where we'll start. In the next video, we'll go into more detail into that thinking when we talk about how to build branding for a $1 million e-commerce business. If you're from the future and that video is already available, I'm going to pop it up here in just a second. Now, this is an entire series walking you through how to build a business from the ground up. So if you want to see it from the beginning, that playlist should be showing up here as well. Now, be sure to like and subscribe and leave me a comment and tap the notification bell and all that crap you're supposed to beg for to be successful on YouTube. I appreciate you watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you next time. My name is TJ Gamble, and I'm the CEO and founder of Jamerson, where we help businesses like yours take those next steps in their e-commerce journey. If you're ready to improve your business and looking for help, go to jamerson.com/go, and I look forward to speaking with you. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.